So our next speaker that we are going to introduce is from BAYAN, which is an alliance, a patriotic alliance of national democratic mass organizations and progressive Filipinos who are fighting for genuine national democracy in the Philippines. So please welcome Min.
Hi everyone, my name is Min, and as our MC mentioned, I am with BAYAN. I am the current Education Officer of BAYAN USA and also the Southern California Regional Coordinator. But I'm going to start this speech a little different. I'm going to start off with a story about myself. As many of you may know me as BAYAN, sometimes there's a joke that all Min does is BAYAN, but really, I wasn't always like this. I was not born a revolutionary, but it took a while for me to even say that I can go to a protest. It was only about 2 or 3 years ago that I went to my first protest. And that was because I was, and I still am, a migrant. A Filipino migrant, of course, but also because I also saw what happened during the first Trump presidency. I was a senior in high school when Trump was winning, and I didn't know so much about the US election system. I didn't know about what I could do. All I knew was I couldn't vote. So what could I do? And what changes can I make for my family, for my community? And it was hard because every time you watch the TV, all they say is go vote. Or sometimes people walk up to you with little boards and they ask you if you've registered to vote. And every time I'm like, no, I can't. So what is the solution for people like me? It took a while for me to find it until I found the National Democratic Movement. Because I realized the change that I was trying to make could not be achieved through the US electoral system. And it actually also had to be rooted in the Philippines. And I share this anecdote because there are so many people, like others before me have shared, who are afraid, anxious right now. I'm afraid, I'm anxious, but I stand here before all of you today because at the same time that I am fearful, I know that I feel safe with you all because I know that you are all here to defend your communities, to defend your people, to defend your homeland. And that is why we're here today. We know that a Trump Marcos regime, that sounds so scary. And that's also how the masses feel, right? But a Trump win will represent the worsening crisis in the US and really an urgent need to change the system. More and more people are asking, what else can we do? What else can we do besides vote? And really, Trump, as others have also mentioned, harps on anti-immigrant and racist rhetoric, policies, words that the Filipino community and Filipino migrants really also hear. Not just from Trump himself, but even people who are disillusioned by him. And really, straight out of the fascist playbook, he capitalized on the people's fear, especially the working class, in a period of economic crisis and uncertainty. A Trump win will not mean an end to US wars and conflicts overseas like he said last night. Filipinos must be wary to the fact that the unequal agreements with the US will likely remain, and our country will remain subservient to the US hegemony and the interests of the US. And more provocations, even from the year alone, are happening, and we know that Trump will also do that. Right now, the US is really trying to start making moves against China, and the Philippines is right there. My people, my homeland, and even people you know who are Filipino will be affected by that. Such a rapidly fascistic US president like Trump colluding with the Marcos dynasty will only further the neglect and plunder of the Filipino people, especially the toiling workers and peasants. Bongbong Marcos has already congratulated Trump in attempts to curry his favor. More and more Filipinos like myself will be forced to migrate out of our homeland, face houselessness, wage theft, lack of healthcare, state-funded repression and violence. We must understand that ultimately, a Trump presidency is a result of the failures of the electoral system and the U.S. state as a whole, as a fraudulent machinery of the ultra-rich that targets and disillusions the working class and touts false promises amidst their suffering and death. For Filipino migrants like me and my people here and back home who can't have a voice in the U.S. elections, we find the alternative solutions in uniting and organizing our compatriots despite the imperialist and ruling class attempting to destroy our lands and our lives. Before and after the U.S. elections, there has always been people's resistance. The Filipino people knew this well after successfully uniting and defending Philippine sovereignty against Spain, against Japan, and against the U.S. And we will do this until the Filipino people are free to return home and prosper. The only way forward for the people, or for the Filipino people of the world, or sorry, the people of the world, I have to say Filipino a lot, greatly affected by the U.S. policies is to struggle against imperialism and fascism. A deeper kind of change is needed. One that goes beyond the confines of an electoral system that is already skewed in favor of the wealthy and powerful. As Filipinos living inside the most powerful imperialist country in the world, we carry a huge responsibility. The result of these elections will affect more than 4 million Filipinos in the US, but also countless people in countries around the world under the boots of US imperialism, like Korea, like Palestine. And even here, US out of everywhere. Oh my God, US out of US. And we have a duty to be vigilant and to unite with other migrant and oppressed communities. We must organize and fight for welfare instead of warfare, and for the people's rights instead of repression and genocide, especially under a Trump puppeted Marcos. So join or build an organization with your people. Let's continue educating each other and other people. Let's organize more and more new faces and mobilize more and more to build the people's movement and resistance. At para sa aking mga kababayan, sumali sa Anak Bayan, Migrante at Gabriela! Join Anak Bayan, Migrante and Gabriela and take up the fight for national democracy in the Philippines! That means dare to struggle, do not be afraid. And that is here, or that is who I am today in front of you all. And you all, so dare to struggle, and be not afraid. Thank you.